Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today for SEFLIN's Digital Youth Discussion Group. We have Marlon Moore is the chair of our Digital Youth Discussion Group, and he will be introducing our presenter, Ms. Sarah Kiefer. Thank you, Marlon.
My pleasure. Okay, let me find your bio. I have it right here somewhere. You know, I put it in really bold letters too, just so I wouldn't forget to find it. I can't find it.
I do have it right here if you would like me to read it.
Okay, that would be great. Thank you.
Okay. After teaching in the classroom for 14 years, Sarah moved into her current role as a technology integration specialist for the Ross Local School District, where she works with teachers and students supporting all of their tech needs. Sarah loves educational technology and helping teachers and students include technology in meaningful ways. Sarah is a Google certified innovator, trainer, and educator, as well as a wife, mom to 3 girls, and 2 pups. She enjoys running, crafting, and DIY projects around her house. You can read her blog, www.TechYouCanDo.com, which she tries to publish weekly. Be sure to check out the TYCD resources section, a weekly share out of various resources for you to try. You can also find Sarah on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, and Wakelet. All links can be found on her blog. Thank you so much, Sarah. And go ahead and take it away.
Thank you for having me. I was super excited to be asked to come and present. My whole belief in everything that I do is that technology is something that you can do. And I try to share out a lot of the different ways that I work with teachers and students in incorporating technology. I am, like Melanie had said, I am a classroom teacher for 14 years, and then I shifted into this role shortly after my district went one-to-one with Chromebooks. So we had a bigger need that had people in places to be able to support our teachers and students using technology, because I think, as we all know, it's not going anywhere. It's going to be here, you know, from here until whenever. And it just is, it's constantly evolving, it's constantly changing. And we are at that point where we can't turn a blind eye to it, especially if you think about the last 18 months. Technology has been what has allowed us to stay communicating with everyone, whether it's people across the country or kids that want to connect with others around the corner. But because of the crazy world that we've been living in, they couldn't do it face to face. Obviously, my big focus is educational technology, but there is a lot of technology that we use at school that is available to everybody. My big one is Google. I fell in love with Google and did a bunch of their certifications. So you can ask me all kinds of questions about Google. And in fact, Marlon and Melanie are going to be monitoring the chat, and I'll do my best too. But if you have questions about something that I cover, or maybe that I refer to or say, and you want more details or a clarifying question, feel free to put that in the chat. I want this to be interactive. I want this to be something that really benefits you as the viewer. And in fact, I created this website that I am sharing right now on my screen. This website was created specifically for this presentation, and it will be here for you guys to access, share out with other people, and hopefully it'll help you maybe find some new tools or new resources, or think about certain technologies in a different way that you can apply. And I will tell you, I was really excited to find out that this is connected to the libraries, because when I turned 16, my first job, and it was my only job other than, you know, the occasional babysitting, was actually working for the Dayton Public Libraries in Dayton, Ohio. They now call themselves the Dayton Metro Libraries. But I worked there for 6.5 years, I think it was, all through high school, through majority of college. So the library is a very personal connection for me, as well as I had 2 older siblings that worked at the library. And now my younger brother is still employed by the Dayton Metro Libraries, and he does some work with their innovation section of their library. I don't live in Dayton any longer, but I live just south of them down near Cincinnati. And as a teacher, I've seen what an impact these libraries have at school with our students, and really the librarians, the media specialists at the 2 elementaries that I split my time with, really kind of have become like these little tech gurus, or have been forced to become these tech gurus, and helping kids not just use the library, but using technology, and teachers using technology, because it's here to stay. And in my district, we've embraced it. So what I've got here on this first page, and Marlon, Melanie, feel free to share this out in the chat so that anyone can grab the link and have access to it for later. I'll have it up on my screen, obviously, since I'm sharing my screen, and you can follow along with me. So this is a Google site. And as long as you have a Google account, you can make a Google site as well. And I will say Google sites have gone through a very big transformation in the last couple of years. I really liked what they had before. They call them now classic Google sites. And these are the new Google sites. They're also the only Google sites that you can create now. But what it is, it's a very simplified way of creating a website. So if you've ever had that interest or inkling, or like, oh, I wonder if I could make a website, you totally can. They have some templates. They have a whole template gallery. There's a lot of drag and drop. If you have Google resources like Google Docs, Google Slides, Sheets, and calendars, all of those integrate very nicely with a Google site. It could be looked at as seamless even. Make sure you get your sharing settings correct. Otherwise, that's everyone's downfall, correct? Including mine. If you don't have those share settings correct, it's going to be a problem. So on this front page, this home page, it just basically kind of gives you an overview about my philosophy. My website is www.TechYouCanDo.com, because I do believe that technology is definitely something that you can do. I do it. I see students doing it. And I've gone into classrooms with kindergartners on a weekly basis, and they can do it. Everybody can do it. They have to have the access. That is obviously a hurdle that has to be overcome. But once you have that access, there is a lot out there that can be done, created, investigated, learned. Yes, you can consume, but you can do so much more. And when you put that into a child's hands, I'm telling you, it's something incredible. I love going into classrooms. And my favorite is when I've had to take a couple weeks off for kindergarten because of other things going on. I went back in the one day and the kids started clapping, and I was like, oh, this is great. You know that, and they're learning, we're doing academic stuff. It's not playtime. So keep that in mind, that if you take technology and you use it and apply it in a very purposeful way, it can really go a long way in helping every student, every child, every adult. And I'm going to show you some programs that can really target and really kind of help you make these things a little bit more meaningful. And it's not stuff that you have to do a lot of legwork in creating. As a teacher, like, that is one of the things that I absolutely adore about some of these programs, is that a lot of them are kind of pre-packaged, pre-built, but they're good. They're good and they're solid, and they're by like solid reputation people. So let's dig in a little bit. And Marlon, Melanie, feel free to jump in with questions if I'm not seeing them, or if somebody has something that they want to talk about. Don't hesitate to interrupt me, because once I get going, sometimes I'll lose track of time and I go off on these tangents, and I love talking about this kind of stuff.
Yeah,
but
we're definitely we're monitoring the chat for you.
Awesome.
And we're also sharing out your webpage and this page here as well. I have a question though.
Yes.
And you're probably going to cover it, so I'm probably being premature, but I wasn't aware of this Google integration of being able to create a website through Google. Is this something that, the hosting of a website is always important? So do they host this on Google? Is that where, or do you have to have your own hosting platform?
It's actually, they save sites now in Google Drive, just like you would go into Drive to find a Google Doc or a Google Slide. you can find the Google Sites as well. And you can see from the website name, the URL that I still have highlighted up here, it's sites.google.com. And then I did create this in my trainer domain, so it has the TechYouCanDo piece to it. If you're in a school domain or if you're in a business Google domain, it'll have that. But then I customize where it says TYCD, TechYouCanDo, SEFLIN, and then this is the home page, so that's automatically populated. You are easily able to create a Google site, and then I forget what they call it, but like if you buy a URL, you know, if you buy, like I did, TechYouCanDo.com, you can come back and paste that in. It's a little bit of a techie process, but replace this so it doesn't say sites.google.com. But yeah, Google hosts them. They're in your drive. The one caution that I would say is that sometimes, and I'm finding it less and less, but sometimes school filters are preventing the ability to see and or use Google Sites. But as long as you mark them publicly accessible, as I did with mine, and I can show you the second tab that I have is actually the back side of it. This is the editing side of the Google site. And you can see like this is basically, all this is a text box. I inserted my picture over here, another text box, and you can see they're kind of broken into chunks. So it's a very simplified way. If you're looking for tons of bells and whistles, Google Sites might not be for you, but if you're starting out, this Google site is, it's amazing. Over here on the right in these columns, pre-built themes, which come with colors and fonts. So you don't have to do so much of that creating. You can customize. I love customizing. You can customize, but having that pre-built for you, you at least have a starting point. And then when you come to your publish button, you'll see that you have various settings that you can use to publish. So it's simple and it's easy. And there are a lot of teachers that actually use Google Sites to create portfolios with and for their students. So each student would be creating their own Google site. And talk about how awesome that is as these kids grow up. They're website designers, they're creating, they're pulling in, and they're, you know, showcasing all of their good stuff. So that is an excellent question.
Thank you.
Excellent.
That's great.
Yep. Okay, so jumping back to here, I looked at the definition of technology because I think we all kind of like, we know it in our heads, but to actually put it into words, Britannica said it's the application of scientific knowledge to the practical aims of human life. And if you think about that, that's, you know, a lot of words. And I think we all go to, it's phones, it's computers, it's TVs. But I would always say to my students when I was still in the classroom, pencils at one point in time were technology. We didn't always have pencils. You know, they were writing on wax tablets. In 7th grade, we learned about the ancient world. And, you know, we're talking about how they would do school with that. And then, you know, then you evolve over time and you find things that are better, things that, and I'm sure not everybody's embracing them and not everybody has it all at the same time, but think about how technology evolves and we evolve probably a little bit faster, but we have that option of bringing that in. And it's the application of how you use technology that really is the powerhouse. I don't believe that technology is bad, but sometimes our use of it or our reliance on it or our dependence can definitely be bad. And that's where we as the humans have to put in place those boundaries. And a lot of times we have to do that with and for our younger students. If any of you are parents, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Kids could sit there on their phones or Nintendos or whatever device for forever. But it's when you put those boundaries in place that's teaching them those healthy habits. And I always keep that very mindful of anytime I go into a classroom, anytime I talk to people about technology, there's a time and a place, and it will do a lot of good. But if we're not careful, it can go south. It can go bad. So then what I've got at the bottom is just different ways that you can connect with me. So as I said, keep this website, bookmark it, write it down, but you can always connect with me and find me. I'm on Twitter, I'm on YouTube. I have a Facebook account, Wakelet. Haven't jumped into Instagram, but you are welcome to reach out if you have questions. I've got a lot of resources. I've pulled some of the ones that I feel might be the most appropriate for this group today, but you go to my website, you can find a whole bunch of other resources, thinkings. And in fact, just yesterday, I presented for the first time with a colleague of mine. We created a blog called Tech with Littles. She's a first grade teacher. She and I used to work together. She has moved on to a new district, but we've kept in touch, and we've created this website mostly to support teachers and the thinking, the how to, the why to integrate technology into their classrooms. Because I do find that with the youngest students, it is the most scary. There's a different kind of fear when you have it with older students, but with the little ones, there's just a lot of fear involved. And there's a lot of them, and chances are one of you as the teacher. So we just put that out yesterday for the first time, and we're super excited to share that. There's a link on my website for that. But let's move into some tools that I think would be awesome if you haven't already heard of them, if you haven't already created your account. Let's jump in and let's look at some of these tools. And as I go through, please make sure that you're asking questions. And I'm hoping that this is generating some ideas, some sparks of, ooh, could I do this with a program, or could I use that program to help me? So what I've done on this page, again, still Google site, and you can see it's an image and a text box. You can use Wakelet, which if you're not familiar with Wakelet, I love Wakelet. Wakelet came at the perfect time for me because I was constantly trying to gather resources, collect things, curate things. Think about in your library, you want to curate collections. I was constantly trying to do that, and I wasn't finding tools that really allowed me to collect everything that I wanted to collect and collect it easily. You know, we're all pressed for time, and when you can shave off a minute or two here and there, like, I'm all for that. Wakelet is a completely free curation tool. There are roughly 7 different formats that you can save. You can save websites, you can save images, you can save PDFs, you can upload videos or save YouTube videos. You can just save so much. And you can even just type in a little note. So I've become a massive user of Wakelet for a lot of different things. Any of you familiar with Pinterest? Wakelet is like the modern version of Pinterest. Okay, you can do a little bit more with Wakelet with as far as the customizing of the title of that resource or the description of that resource. Wakelet is just phenomenal. There's an extension that you can use on your Chrome account. There's an app that you can put onto your phone. It's a website. So it's very mobile friendly. It's very device friendly. All you need to have is an internet access point, and you're good to go with Wakelet. And in fact, here is my Wakelet profile. So if you were to come to Wakelet and you were to find me, you can see I've got a little bio on here, and then I've got multiple categories over here. And then each of these is its own Wakelet collection. Now, this is my public profile. And you might say, well, Sarah, sometimes I collect things and I don't want people to see it right away, or I don't want people to ever see it because it's a collection for you, resources for yourself. You can have private collections. You don't have to have them all publicly accessible. That's amazing. Just like with Pinterest, you have those like hidden boards, locked boards. I was a big Pinterester when my girls were very little. I feel like I've evolved into using Wakelet. I just feel like it's a step up for me. I love how I can categorize things. You can use Wakelet to collaborate. Multiple people can have editing access to a Wakelet collection. Multiple people can be putting resources together. It's fantastic. You can embed Wakelets on websites. I'll show you how I have one actually embedded for you guys on here too. But you can see.
I like how it seems to be a little bit more professional looking than Pinterest. So I like that aspect of it.
It's a little more professional, and I feel like it's a little cleaner. It just isn't, it's smaller images, and the way that it groups together, I feel like it just kind of, it's simplified, but it's very clean.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, and I love that. And you can see it still is, I'm a very visual person. I love color, I love grouping things, I love just putting things together in a clean and simple format, and Wakelet allows that to happen. You could go crazy, don't get me wrong, you really could, but that's, and they have, and another really awesome thing about Wakelet that I almost forgot to mention is you can see these images here. These are all from Unsplash, which is a website that allows for high quality photos and images to be used. The photographers have given their permission. So I'm always thinking about, are we using other people's resources appropriately? Are we giving that credit? Unsplash.com is a website that allows you to use high quality images, and it's built right into Wakelet. Amazing, it really is. And then if we jump in a little bit deeper, let me pick, which one should we do? Let's just go to, we'll just pick a Google one. But a really cool thing about each of these, or about all of these, I should say, is that, actually, let me find one that has text to it. Let me go to, let's check this one out. Let's see if this one, yes, perfect. So this is just one of my collections, and I was looking for this particular little icon. If you see this right here, it has Microsoft's Immersive Reader built right into their site. So I'm always thinking about a lot of things, right? My husband kind of teases me, does your brain ever stop? And I'm like, oh, no. And sometimes that's not a good thing. I do understand that, but using other people's materials and resources appropriately, giving credit, but also the accessibility factors. So with this immersive reader, you can see that little icon. So when I click on it, we're going to see what happens with it. So it opens to a new page, but what it's going to do is it's going to read for you. Okay, so it has that wonderful accessibility factor.
Focused on blended learning.
And there are some, you can change text, you can change some grammar options, the reading preferences. I think I've not played around with this a tremendous amount, but I do believe that you can change the language. So if you have an English language learner, or you have someone that speaks a different language, they do have that ability. I am definitely more of a Google girl, but having Microsoft Immersive Reader built right in, I didn't have to do anything. I didn't have to add it on. It's just there, and it's wonderful. And when you're thinking about using this with students of all ages, people of all abilities, having these accessibility features built right in, it's just amazing. Definitely technology that anyone can do. All right, let's jump back. That was one resource. And here's different ways that you can connect with Wakelet: Twitter, Facebook. They have an Instagram, YouTube, and that'll help you really dive in a little bit deeper. This is obviously for their website. So dig in, they're free accounts, go for it. Sharing out collections is super easy as well. I do share out all the time. Screencastify is another of my top tools that I really do feel that everybody should have in their back pocket. It does have a free account, and then you can do some upgrading for some additional features. I have done so well with just the free account with Screencastify. You get a 5-minute free recording, little bit of editing, nothing that's so, too much, something that everybody can do. And it saves directly to your Google Drive if you wanted to, or you can save it to your local device, your laptop, your computer. I like to save it in my Drive, and then that way it's wherever I log into my account. I just find that to be a very simple process. It's also, my login is my Google account. So I don't have to remember one more username. I don't have one more password. And I do use this with students as well. Our students are able to use Screencastify. We've gotten that approved. So our students are able to use Screencastify. And really all it is the ability to record yourself or your screen or both. So if you're thinking about making some how-to videos or resource videos, or I want to share this out with other people and a video is the format of choice, Screencastify is an easy tool to use. It doesn't have a lot of bells and whistles. There's some annotation abilities, but really if you're looking to jump in, get your feet wet, use this, and then you can always upgrade later, right? So I'm always conscious of the budget aspect, but also the learning curve with Screencastify is super easy. It really is.
I wish I would have known about that about 3 months ago as I was making all these videos for class. I was trying to figure out how to record on my screen through QuickTime. It's great. We have a question from Edward. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, Edward Velez says, how long can you record for and in what format?
So Screencastify in the free version is a max of 5 minutes. And depending on what you're trying to do, 5 minutes might be completely doable. If you need longer, you can pay to upgrade your account. It's not that expensive. I want to say like $29 a year. It might be a little bit more than that. And then when you pay for the upgrade, it's unlimited. You can record as long as you need to. Obviously, keeping in mind, when you record, there's not a lot of editing abilities with this, but if you're comfortable, you're going to upload it anyway into YouTube and you can use their editing tools, go for it. I use Screencastify a lot for these small, quick videos, and you can save it in your Drive, which saves as a Drive movie file. And then you can also download it. And I believe that's an MP4. So if it's for my YouTube channel, I will record with Screencastify and then download and pop it right into YouTube. Screencastify also has the ability now that you can create GIFs, the real quick, 10-second, 15-second videos that just, they're videos, but they just continually replay and replay and replay. You can do that with Screencastify now, whether it's you or it's your screen or it's a combination. It just is so very versatile. And one of the other newer things with Screencastify is you can download only audio. So you could do your recording, but then you can export just the audio. So if you're looking to share out just the audio version of that, like maybe for a podcast, Screencastify can also be a tool that you could try out.
That's awesome. Edward says, thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. A lot of our teachers over the last 18 months use Screencastify for their instructional videos. Again, most of them had the free version. I think a few of them did pay for the upgrade, but a lot of them used it. And if you think about a child's attention span, 5 minutes is probably all we needed. When I would make quick help videos for teachers, Screencastify was great because, again, I didn't need gobs of time for it. But you could also do a bunch of little clips and then bring them together in a different editor as well, or putting them on Google Slides. And then you have a series of videos for them to watch. I could just go on with ideas all day long. All right, the next one I'm going to share is Moat. This is a very, very, very new tool. I think it's only been around for a little more than a year. I didn't really dig into it until maybe November, December. And then I was like, why in the heck have I not done this before? And then I realized like, it's not that old of a tool. It's not like it's been around for 5-10 years. And I've just kind of completely ignored it. But what I've done is I love technology, but I want to be able to use the tools that I have in my tool belt with purpose, and I want to be able to use them well. So when I share out a tool, I know this tool and I love this tool. Moat, just as easy as Screencastify allows you to do videos, Moat allows you to record audio. It gives you a link, it would just look like a URL, like a website link, and you can share that out. And then people can hear you sharing your thoughts or a response to a question. And just in the last, I think, 3 weeks, they've put out to where you can actually now respond to other people's moats with more than just like a thumbs up emoji. I think you can respond right back to them with a moat of your own. It's an incredible tool. I loved them so much that I did their certified educator program, and then I applied and became an ambassador for them back in the springtime. I love Moat because now it integrates not just with Google Slides, but it also integrates with your Gmail. So if you create and again, free Moat account, yes, there are some upgrades, but if you create a free Moat account, you're going to find it also in your Gmail, and you can record your voice responding to emails right there. Like, you don't have to go somewhere else, do this, and then bring it in. You can do it right inside of Gmail. It's great. Oh, and if you do upgrade, there's transcription available. There's translation available. So they are building it out to be more than just let's record in English. It is amazing, and
That's very powerful.
It is a game changer. It really is. Because just think about, again, these last 18 months, I think, have really kind of shaped a different mindset. That connection piece, yes, I can type an email. We're all very proficient with that. But to record my voice and send that off, think about what that connection is. It's great. It's great. It's a little more human than just text on a page. And oh, by the way, I was reading about this. I think you can record or you can speak 3 times faster than you can type. So for some of us, it could also be a time saver. Now, again, free version, you can only record for, I believe it's 30 seconds. When you pay to upgrade, I think the max is 90 seconds. But what I have on here is, because I am an ambassador, they gave me this code. So if you click on this link and you create your Moat account through this link, you do get the upgrade for free to their unlimited tier. And I want to say 60 days. I might be wrong on that, because there's the 90 seconds recording, there's the 30 seconds recording, there's the unlimited. So just read the information. But if you choose to try out Moat, if you don't like it after a while, delete your account. It has an extension. You can see it up here in my extensions bar, but it is built right into the Google tools. And again, I don't have another username and password. It uses my Google account, which, tracking usernames and passwords is something these days. I don't know if you guys believe in you have to have a unique password for everything. I love when I see that red sign in with Google button, because I'm like, whew, it's one less one that I have to remember. It's fantastic. So keep that in mind.
We have a question, Sarah, from Sharon. And what you just said made me spawn a question in my mind too, but I'll save it for later. So Sharon asks, does the person that you send the Moat respond to? Okay, let me read this. Let me understand what she's saying. Does the person that you send the Moat respond to have to also have a Moat account to retrieve and hear the message?
No, you don't. And To create them, yes, you do have to have the Mote account, but I could send a Mote to Marlon right now. He does not have to have an account to hear it. It sends a URL link, so they click on it, and in the free version, it opens like a new page, and then there's the little play button, and then Marlon can hear my voice. I did this with kindergartners, and I'm very particular about what accounts I will create for our littlest learners. Just, they're so little. Like, I know that that's my responsibility to create accounts wisely for them. So I would create activities, and obviously they're kindergartners, they're all learning to read, some of them more proficient than others. So I would type the instructions for that activity, but then I would also record myself reading the directions to allow for the students to be a little bit more independent. Not a single one of my kindergartners have a Mote account, not at all. So no, you do not have to have one in order to listen to it. Should they want to respond with a Mote? Yes, they would need an account.
Sharon says, thanks, that sounds great.
Game changer. I cannot tell you, I've shown this to so many teachers, and they look at me and they're like, oh my gosh, this is what we've needed for so long. Yep. Yeah, it is. Thank you, Mote, for creating this. And Marlon, did you want to ask your question?
Okay, yeah, the question I had was, you know, I mean, I have like 3 million things going on with Google, so it's a sort of a non-question, but are you concerned with any privacy issues when you're logging in across platforms like this?
When I use my Google sign-in?
Yeah.
I weigh the risk and the reward of doing it. To me, the simplicity factor is what wins out. I am particular about the programs that I do create accounts for, just in general. So that's something that I think about even before I create these accounts. And that's why I'm not going to go out and create an account for everything and anything. And I'm very specific. Marlon, you're probably like me. You have a work Google account, and then you have a personal Google account. I also have my Google Trainer account. So I will be very specific and intentional with which of those accounts that I use for which purposes. So in that manner, I am concerned. I am not one of those people that the newest tech tool comes by and I just have to have it. I like to learn about it first and kind of investigate, do a little bit of due diligence. And then when I'm comfortable, I go, you know, if I want to use this product, the Google sign-in is super easy. And I am a believer in that two-factor authentication.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
If you've seen that, some people go, well, that's just a big pain. And I'm like, but it's one extra level of protection.
Yes, definitely. And Google has actually done a lot of, they just sent out an update recently, just as another layer of protection for Google Drive. I just saw that come through just a day or so ago. So I'm not worried either. And I'm very intentional about what I use as well, but thank you for answering the question.
You're welcome. And you're right. Google Drive just shared out a security upgrade. And if you log into your Drive, if you don't have it yet, I've noticed it in several of my accounts, but there's a banner at the top, and they're really good about, you know, this is coming, or this has happened in your account, or, you know, this is the information. And then there's usually a learn more or click here to find out more. And if you click on those, they take you to a page that gives you a lot more information. That actually was just a topic in one of the email threads. A teacher had asked about, I got this email notification, what is this all about? And that's what it was relating to, is Google is trying to ensure a little bit more security in our drives for our files. So, yep. All right, another great tool, and I put this in the tool category. It's not really one that you personally are creating with, but Common Sense Media, if you're not familiar with them, is an amazing tool if you are looking to do some vetting of programs or websites or applications. Probably in large part, they've already done that and they'll give you that information on their website. They'll tell you how they rate it, what are areas of strengths or weaknesses. They do present it in light for educators as well as parents. They're just a really great resource for everybody to go to. I've looked up some movies. My daughters have said, hey, can we watch this movie? I've gone to Common Sense Media, read what they have written about the movie, if they've done that for that particular one. And I kind of get that sense of like, okay, they're saying that it's good for this age group and up. Okay, I can let my 11-year-old watch this. Same with some of these games. My daughters will, hey, can I get this game on my device? Can I get that game on my device? Okay, so tell me about it. And I'm like, okay, but they're a kid, they're hearing from other kids and they want to play what everybody's playing. I'll pull it up on Common Sense Media and I'll read about what are some of the concerns about this game. Are there big worries about it? Or, hey, is this a really good one? Common Sense Media is fantastic about sharing that kind of information. And they have it in a very similar format across movies and books and games. So once you get comfortable reading it, it's not a hard read at all, but you're able to process through, okay, this one has this many stars, this one doesn't. It's a really easy to read format. And I very much appreciate that from them, because it's, like they said, they're independent, nonprofit. It's great. And then we did talk about Google Sites a bit. So if you have a Google account, creating a Google site is as simple as going into your Drive, clicking on the New button in the top left corner. And then it is a little bit hidden on the menu. You come down to the bottom and you say More, just like where you'd find the forms. I like to hide them off to the side. But Sites is one of those that's listed in that little pop-out menu too. And honestly, you could create a site for a good long time. I had a Google site that I would just play around with. I never published it. I never shared it with anybody, but I wanted to see what it looked like, what it felt like. What could I do with a site? Is this really something that I wanted? So I had that little practice site. And then when I was ready to go all in and actually create one, I'd had one already that I'd done some practicing. I always find that that's a little bit less scary when I go that route, if I have that practice time with it. And like I said, it integrates with all of the Google apps. Super easy. This is a Google site. I've got several other Google sites that you can come across. I actually did a webinar this summer called Leveling Up Google Sites. I used a Google site I'm the co-coordinator of our 8th grade Washington, D.C. trip. And I actually have a Google site created and formatted specifically to look really good on phones. And we call it our app. So it's a very mobile responsive website creator as well. So think about how it could be used across different platforms. Our students will put it on their phones. Our parents will put it on their phones. I've got it on my phone. And with a click of a button, because we've saved it as a bookmark, it's not actually an app, but we've saved it and you can open it up and it's got all of the information, calendars, links to things. You can email straight from there. It's a really kind of interesting way of using a Google site. All right, the last tool on this page that I want to share is called Flipgrid. Flipgrid is an incredible tool that has really ramped up the last couple of years. And it kind of takes like what Screencastify does with the video recording. You can now just write, I think you can just type responses in there as well. It can be publicly accessible. It can be private. Teachers will use this to allow students to do some of that self-reflecting or to share, especially these last 18 months when we've had to do some of this remote. Students can just turn on their webcams and they can, write on their papers and show it, or record their screens and share their answers, their thinking. Other people can respond to it. I did a really neat activity with 2nd graders just before we all closed down for COVID. They did this little wax museum And we recorded each student giving their presentation with Flipgrid, and then we could share out that student's video to their families. And probably the most touching response to that was each teacher had a grid with all of the students in their class, and they shared that out. Was one of the teachers told me later, and they were all a little hesitant to do this, but the one teacher really was gung-ho and was excited about it, got the other ones excited about it. So this teacher came to me and she said, you know, we shared out the videos. One of my students' dad is deployed right now. I don't know what branch of the military this little boy's dad was in. And the mom had told the teacher, thank you so much. I could send that video off to my husband. He could see his son doing his presentation at school. And she said that just made a world of difference to the dad. And I thought, how amazing is it that through this technology that we have, we could connect this little guy with his dad who's off on deployment.
That's a beautiful use of the technology. It's great.
I mean, Marlon, I'm not gonna lie, tears were flowing when she's telling me this. Like, I could cry right now. I just think of these kids that are separated, but using these tools, we can bring people together. I have a teacher that's interested in using Flipgrid this coming year to record like book talks, getting kids excited about it. I saw, and I've got it collected, and I'll show it to you in a moment. But in a library, you can create QR codes for these videos, so people can walk around with their phones. And if you're not aware of this, your camera on your phone is now a QR code reader. So you don't have to have a QR code reader app on your phone like we did a handful of years ago. As long as you have a modern phone, like my mom just recently had to get a new phone, her previous phone, it wouldn't have worked on, but you can use your camera to hover over the QR code and it would bring up somebody giving a book talk or a book review about a particular book. And they just had these QR codes, I think on index cards around the library. Think about how awesome that would be, that you could connect with a local school, have that be an after school project if you're able to bring students in or groups in afterwards, and have them grab books and give that little bit of a book talk and then be able to share it out to a wider audience. Flipgrid would allow you to do that.
Awesome.
Yeah. And then as with all of the tools down here at the bottom, different ways that you can connect with them. Flipgrid has an amazing, I think they call it their disco library, but they have a whole bunch of different ideas that you can just go ahead and like take and use. So I love that about companies when they're able to share that out. All right, I know I only have you for another like 12-ish minutes. So let's jump to this next page where there's some programs and resources. And this is where I feel like the other ones are tools that you can use. These are ones that you can go ahead, you can take them and you can just dive in and start using them. Google's Applied Digital Skills is probably my #1 favorite share in this realm of thinking. They have, what did I count? I don't think I put a number. They have so many different ready to go lessons, and they're video based, pre-created. The videos are pre-created. If you're interested in, you can create like a classroom and work through it. And as a teacher, it could be like a project that we're doing in class. However, anywhere else, these are all publicly accessible. You come to them and there are so many lessons pre-built. Use pieces of them, but they've got all of the resources right there for you. For example, here I put down some of these pretty cool different lessons. So research and develop a topic. Always a good thing, a good skill for anyone, little ones to adults. How do you research and develop a topic? Plan a budget. Oh, these days, everybody needs that, right? Who's teaching this? Hopefully someone somewhere is teaching this, but if you're not confident that someone is, you could use their Applied Digital Skills to plan a budget. The entire lesson is laid out for you. I almost say it's kind of verbatim. Not really, but you could put someone down, sit someone down next to them and work through this with very little legwork at all. Have a device, have the internet, you'll be good to go. Start a resume. Everyone needs a resume. A lot of people don't know where to start creating a resume. Google's Applied Digital Skills, they've got you. Walks you through the whole process. It's incredible. Managing a project with digital tools, there you go. If you're boss or you're part of a team that needs to create some sort of project, this whole Applied Digital Skills lesson will help you walk through all of those steps. Promotional flyers, this is great. I've done this with students. I do have to do a little bit of modification because it's really built for the middle school and up age range, including into adulthood. So when I work with 3rd and 4th graders with Applied Digital Skills, I do have to do some modifications, but they talk about like, what should you put in your promotional flyer? What words do you make bigger? All video-based, independent. You could do this on your own. You don't have to do it for any particular reason. Maybe it's just something that you're really interested in. I think they have one about building a website too. So much more. You can filter by content. You can filter by tool. What else? By audience. So if you're working with the adult crowd, you can filter and see what lessons they've created specifically for adults. It's amazing. Okay, I've gone to, if any of you are familiar with Eric Kurtz, he's a big Google guru. He's actually an Ohioan like me, so I feel a little special connection with him. I have met him a couple of times. I went to one of his workshops that he shared out Applied Digital Skills and learned a little bit more about it. And I'm telling you, this is just going to be a program that just grows and grows. And it's free. Did I mention that? It's free. Google just shares this stuff out there. It's free, mind-blowing, and wonderful. Another one from Google is this Be Internet Awesome. So if you have interest in helping, I would say definitely the younger crowd, learning better skills as far as when you're using technology, Be Internet Awesome, again, pre-built curriculum. They have 5 key areas that they cover on here. Being internet smart. So they're talking about how you should or should not share things. Internet alert is don't fall for the fake. So they're talking about, you know, scams and when you shouldn't click on things, all stuff that we all need reinforced. I have to, in my district, we have certain modules that we have to go through every year. And one of them is the viruses and the scams. What don't you click on in your email? We all need to be better at that. Think about, you know, my mom called me, this has been a couple years, you know, we've been scammed, you know, somebody got a hold of my credit card and all that. Not because they did anything, but it's always just a good reminder that, like Marlon said earlier, you have to be cautious. You have to be concerned with privacy. You have to be thinking about this. And if we can teach our young ones as they grow up and instill in them these better practices, we're just doing them a huge favor for when they get to college, when they get to be adults. Let's instill that in them young. Securing your secrets, that one's about passwords. Cool to be kind. When in doubt, talk it out. What do you do when you come across something that you know you shouldn't be seeing or that scares you? These are all things that we need to be talking with our students, and Google gives us this awesome curriculum. Also comes with a game that the kids absolutely love playing based on the content and curriculum that they're learning. It's really nice. It flows really well together. I sent away a while ago and received like paper from them and had certificates that I could make copies of. I believe it had some stickers in it, had a teacher resource book. Again, free, just like the Applied Digital Skills. This is definitely for the younger crowd, but you could take it and kind of modify it for older students. All good lessons.
That's great. We teach internet safety and security in some of our spaces, and I am certainly going to share this with our staff. So that's really great, especially the game aspect of it as well. It's cool.
And the nice thing about the game, Marlon, is if you're not concerned with tracking progress, the kids don't actually have to have accounts either.
Oh.
So they can just go in and they can play. Now, obviously, when they come back and play it again, do they start at the same spot? Do they remember where they were, kind of thing? But I mean, it's a game. They're probably willing to play it over and over again. My daughter loved playing it. They did it at school. at her school, and she just loved playing the game.
Awesome.
It also sparked some really good conversations. All right, I got, let's see, two more. Yep, two more. These two go together. Code.org, phenomenal. Just watched a real quick video that the presenter was saying everyone should learn how to code. I don't subscribe to that, but what I love about coding and CS First is Google's coding program. Code.org is its own nonprofit organization. But what I love about coding is the mindset that it gets students and adults into. I shared Code.org with my teachers a handful of years ago. We all went to workshops, and Code.org provides workshops for teachers. You can go and they actually give you the thick manual that has good stuff in it. They fed us lunch. I'm not going to complain about that. That was great. We got to work in groups. We actually did some of their activities, and they have a program online, the game aspect online. But the power comes, in my opinion, from the actual, the non-device activities. That's where you get the thinking. There's vocabulary infused in it. It's teaching kids to think and process. It's that critical thinking aspect. It's that problem solving aspect. And when you layer in then the game, the kids are constantly problem solving. They're constantly going back and fixing errors. And you can code and get through the game, but if you never touch the non-device stuff, it's all like paper and pencil, and it breaks it into age groups. So it's appropriate. You find the ones that are appropriate for your different age groups, and it connects with curriculum. There's one of my favorites. It's about map skills, the compass rose, and you lay out a grid on your classroom floor, and you have to move the little doodad from one place to another. And you're coding it, because the coding is you're literally telling instructions. So one of the first activities that they do is that you code the kids. So I would come in when I did this with a couple classes, and I stand up. Okay, I just coded you to do that. Okay, now sit down. Okay, now I want you to pull out your book. So you relate it to them, and they start thinking in that process. That's the power of coding, in my opinion. It's that cause and effect relationship, that if you tell them to do this, that happens. And when kids get involved, the excitement that they see, and then you can layer in robots, you can layer in creating apps, and all of that good stuff comes from that. Both of these are great programs to have in your tool belt to make sure that you're using. And then at the bottom, I have these two websites. They kind of go together. They're in the same thinking. The kids should see this. It's, what does it say? Over 5,000 kid-friendly videos. And it allows you to have some pretty awesome conversations. It's not your standard YouTube type things that kids get on. They're really, really cool. Like some of them have a science thread, some of them have a math feel to them. And it's just an incredible way to start that inquiry process with the students and with kids in clubs, and great resources just to have on hand. You know, I'd rather my daughters get on this website than just go jump on YouTube and search random things. This, I know that they've curated them. They've brought them together for a specific reason. And a lot the same feel is Wonderopolis. But what they do is, what does it say? Every day they send out a wonder of the day. And for this one, they actually put out a video and they're asking a question. So it's really spurring that inquisitive mind of a child. But as an adult, I've loved reading through these. And then they do tag on some explanation. They give you a little bit more with it as well. So both of those are great resources to have in your back pocket, ready to go. You don't have to do much of anything. If you're looking for something specific, do a little bit of research to find it, but both of these websites are fantastic to have. And again, you can connect with all of these. And I know I'm running short on time, so the last thing I want to share, well, I have a few more things, but you can explore this website. Building your PLN is very important, especially these days. I do mine through Twitter, Facebook, Wakelet. And then what I've done as well is I created a Wakelet specifically for this, for you guys at SEFLIN and the digital youth discussion group. So I've kind of, well, not kind of, I've curated different people, different websites, different activities or thoughts that weren't like that bigger umbrella of the tools or the resources. So I've got some different Twitter accounts that might be very interesting for you to go to, some images. And by the way, if you're not super familiar with Twitter or you haven't really dove into the Twitter world, please know that you don't actually have to have an account. You can just click on these and you can skim through their information. It is publicly accessible. I just love when I see libraries putting out these different creative displays, like the Christmas tree over here. This one's really cool. They called it the blind date. So they wrap up the books and you don't actually know the book. I don't remember what they said they put on the front to kind of like entice you to pick it up, but just a bunch of different great ways that you can incorporate using tools with libraries. And then finally, I have the professional learning. And what I've done is, this is on my website, TechYouCanDo, is I've used a tool called Data Studio that I have fallen in love with. I fell in love with it last year, and I have gathered some free and low cost. Obviously, these are focused a little bit more on educators, but there's so much good stuff on here that you might find a topic and you can do some filtering on these topics. If you're curious about project-based learning or design thinking, you can focus in on those. Or if you're looking for ones, this is my favorite, that's completely free. You can filter it just by the free ones. If there's a secondary focus, I've got it listed. So if it's a course, if it's a webinar, if it's a very specific tool base, you can do some filtering here, as well as even typing in a keyword or two and seeing if there's anything that's readily available. Again, that's on my website. So if you come here, you're going to be able to email me. You can connect with me. If you're interested in reading what I put out, go for, like, this website is great, but it's all housed here on this Google site. And then the last page is just a little bit about me. And we've already kind of talked about all of that kind of stuff, how I worked at a library and became a teacher and all that. So with that, being mindful of your time, Marlon, thank you for having me. Melanie, thank you for having me on here. And thank you for joining, all of you that have joined and asking your questions. I hope that this has been helpful. And I hope that this is a resource that you'll be able to take and use technology in a way that maybe you hadn't already thought about, or dive in a little bit deeper with a tool that you're already familiar with.
So awesome, Sarah. So much great information.
Oh,
Unbelievable.
wow. I took a lot of notes, but we shared this webpage on the chat already.
Awesome.
You guys. Edward Velez says, great webinar and resources, with a thumbs up. He enjoyed it.
Thank you, Edward, for coming.
Your students are very lucky, Sarah.
Oh,
For sure. That's like really an understatement. It was
Awesome resources.
really great stuff.
Thank you very, very much.
You're welcome. You're
So
welcome. I tell people all the time, I absolutely adore my job. I love it. I know that not everybody gets to say that. My husband kind of looks at me, he's like, you know that not everybody says that, right? And I'm like, I do know that. And I feel very lucky to be able to sit here and do this kind of stuff because I'm passionate about it.
We can tell. We're going to be sharing this video, right, with everybody, Melanie?
Yes, this video is going to go out. It'll probably be next week before we get it out, but yes, it's going to go out to everybody that's here and also the other people that registered that were not here today.
Awesome.
So we'll go out to everyone.
Perfect. Well, I want to say thank you. Thank you, Sarah Kiefer, for coming and taking your time. I've literally spent hours on your TechYouCanDo website. So I really just appreciate you coming and sharing all these great resources for us. And I'm sure all the librarians their minds are working as to how they can, put this into practice inside of their libraries. So thank you.
Yes.
You're welcome.
And also thank you for putting together the web page for us as well. That's really going to be useful, and look forward to having that as well. Thank you so much, Sarah.
Oh, you're welcome. Again,
Anytime.
thank you for having me. And feel free to reach out. All my contact information is on there. I've got a lot of presentations that dig in a little bit deeper to each of these tools if you're interested. But I can't say enough how I would be very happy to connect with anybody with further questions.
Awesome. Great.
Well,
Thank
you take
you
care
so
of
much.
yourself, and everyone, you guys know you can contact us and contact Sarah at any time if you want to stay connected to her, and hopefully we'll stay connected with you too as well, Sarah.
I hope so.
All right.
All right.
Well, we hope you all have a wonderful evening and good day, and stay tuned for our next DYDG webinar, which is coming up next month.
Take good care, everyone. Bye.
Bye.